Assalamu alaikum. Today we will discuss the anatomy and physiology of the retina. As we all know that light rays after passing through the pupil it go through the lens and falls over the retina. The final image that is made on the retina which is conveyed to the higher center, that is the brain. All information about the shape, color or movement or any other thing that is recorded and perceived by the brain. Through this animation you can see that light is passing through the pupil and falling over the retina. Retina is made up of different layers including some of the neural cells and some are photoreceptors. Through this animation you can see that after passing the light through the lens falling over this one on retina, it go through the whole or all the layers of the retina, and these are the photoreceptors. I show you again. These are the photoreceptors in which the reaction take place, so that next is the that is conveyed through the neuronal cells to the higher centers. So it is decided that retina is made up of different layers. If we name them from outer side to the inside, they are: number one is the pigmented layer, layer of rods and cones, outer nuclear layer, outer plexiform layer, inner nuclear layer, inner plexiform layer, ganglionic layer, layer of optic nerve fibers, inner limiting membrane. So the innermost is the inner limiting membrane and outermost is the pigmented layer. And in between, this is the layer of the photoreceptor, and all others are neuronal neuronal layers which are conveying the message to the higher center. Basically, the retina is made up of sensory retina and the neuroretina. Sensory retina consists of the layer that has rods and cones, that are the photoreceptors, while the neuroretina includes all other layers. I show you these layers again. Layer of rods and cones, that is included in the sensory retina. Sensory retina means that this layer consists of photoreceptors carrying the sensations, while the others, they are all these layers, they have the neuronal cells. They convey this message which is interpreted by the rods and cones about the light rays, about the image that is conveyed to the higher center, finally through the optic nerve fibers and reaching to the brain to be perceived. and the innermost we have the inner limiting membrane. Through this diagram, you can see in a better way that this is the direction of the light rays. Here you can see this is the direction of the light rays. Light is passing from here and going to be perceived by the rods and the cones. Finally, this is the pigmented layer. Once the light rays they are perceived here, they come in opposite direction through these neuronal cells and then to the optic nerve fibers. These all cells they gather and make a network over the rods and cones and then collectively combined to the optic nerve. Through the optic nerve, the message is going to the higher center. So this is the situation all about. Through this animation, you can you can see the well organized rods and cones and other layers. Light is falling over the retina. The light rays they are going directly to the sensory part, rods and cones, just passing through all these cells without any interpretation. Finally they are interpreted in the rods and cones, which are the photoreceptors. Chemical reaction take place in these photoreceptors and then it is perceived by these cells to be conveyed to the brain. Fovea, that is the area of 1 square millimeter in the center of the retina. In the center of the retina, we have the macula, which is the area of maximum visual acuity, having the maximum number of the cones. As we go towards the periphery of the retina, we have increased number of rods as compared to the cones. In the center, cones are maximum and on the peripheral part of the retina, the maximum number of rods they are present. The center of the macula is called the fovea and the center of the fovea is called the fovea centralis. So this is the very minute area present in the center of the retina and this is the area of maximum visual acuity and having the maximum number of the cones. Now, what is the main photoreceptor? Which I am naming these receptors as rods and cones, what is their structure, how they are going to perform their function. Here we will discuss their structure. We have mainly two types of the photoreceptors. These are rods and cones. The shape of the rods that is rod-like and because of the shape of the cones like a cone, because of that it is named as cone. Mainly they have outer segment, inner segment, nucleus and synaptic body. Through the synaptic body they are going to synapse with the nervous layer or the neuronal cells. This is the structure of the rods and the cone. Rod-like, that is the rods, and the shape other cone-like, that is the cone. If we go further in detail, so we can find that it has the outer segment and the inner segment with the nucleus and the synaptic body. In the outer segment, we have the membrane shelves lined with rhodopsin or color pigment. What is the rhodopsin or color pigment? Rhodopsin is the photochemical substance present in the rods. Similarly, in the cones we have the photochemical substance, that is the color pigment. The main function of the cones, that is to perceive the white light and also the color light. All the colors, they are perceived by the cones. So they have the photochemical substance which is color pigment, and similarly in the rods we have the rhodopsin. How they act, what is the physiological process going on in these rods and cones, that is a separate topic and we will discuss in further, and after that we will discuss in next video. But here you must be introduced with the structure of the rods and the cones. In the inner segment we have abundant mitochondria. As in this segment there will be a continuous process which we will discuss later on, through which the light is perceived. So we need abundant energy source here. So we have number of mitochondria present in the inner segment, then the nucleus, and finally we have the synaptic body. Through this synaptic body, these cells, they are going to make synapse with the neuronal cells. This is much more better picture of these photoreceptors. You can see the outer segment and the inner segment and the synaptic body here. On the outer segment you can see the shape, that is the shelf like. So this is just the same shelf as you have the bookshelf in your room on which you are putting your books. Here we are putting the photochemical substance, either the rod in the rods or the cones. So these are the shelves on which we are going to place the photochemical substances. So rods and cones, they are light sensitive photochemicals found in outer segment. In rods we have the rhodopsin, which is the photochemical substance. In cones we have the color pigment, which is the scotopsin. In the outer segment of both rods and cones are large number of discs, as many as 1000 per rod or one or the cone. Pigments are conjugated proteins incorporated into the membranes of the disc, and the inner segment contains the usual organelles and cytoplasm, and full of mitochondria to give well established rich energy source. Finally, the synaptic body, which connects the rods and cones with the neuronal cells, that are the horizontal and bipolar cells. The function of each and every part of this structure with all the neuronal cells like horizontal or bipolar cells, we will discuss one by one in following videos. So don't worry, these are the neuronal cells making a just network over the rods and cones, and finally they combine to form the optic nerve, and this through the optic nerve they are sending impulses to the higher center. The individual function of these cells, either the horizontal or the bipolar or the other ganglionic cell or other cells present in these layers, we will discuss later. We will discuss in detail later on. Now coming to the pigment layer of the retina, which is the outermost layer. Very important thing is, as it is named as pigment layer, so it contains a pigment, that is melanin, which prevents light refraction throughout the eyeball. As you, when you are playing cricket, you notice that each and every bowler and batsman have blackish background so that the batsman can visualize the ball clearly. As this background in the eye, we have this pigment layer of the retina, so that the each and every image which is formed over the retina, that is visualized, that can be visualized very clearly. So the pigment layer is performing same function as you have the blackish screen behind the bowler. It stores large quantities of vitamin A, which is an important precursor of the photosensitive chemicals of the rods and cones. Again, how it is going to take part in the reaction, that will be discussed later on. So remember it that vitamin A for the vision is very important. So you can see that through the photoreceptors, which are these one photoreceptor rods and cones, they are making synapse with the neuronal cells, and then it is connected, or it is making the optic nerve going to the higher center. If there is any damage, then you can see the effect that will be lost at that point. So this is the animation that is telling you the retinal ganglionic cell death. Very important thing about the pigment layer, that is, if in any patient it is not present, that is, it is not having the melanin pigment, what happens? With the deficiency of the melanin, the condition is named as albinos, so that it is a group of inherited disorder that causes insufficient production of pigment, which is melanin, in the eye, hair and skin. So if there is deficiency of melanin, these patients named as albinos, and maybe you have seen all these patients frequently around yourself, because this condition is very much common, so you may have seen these people. People have dysfunctional genes passed down from their parents. The importance of melanin in the pigment layer is well illustrated by its absence in albinos, people who are hereditarily lacking in melanin pigment in all parts of their bodies. So when they enter in the bright room, light that impinges, this is very important thing, that when the light rays they pass, they fall over the retina, it is reflected in all directions inside the eyeball by the unpigmented surfaces of the retina. What happens? When it falls over the retina, it is absorbed into the photoreceptors, and after that, because of the dark background, all the rays they are absorbed. So because of that, there is no harmful effect over the retina. Otherwise, slight light can damage the retina, as it will be felt very intense to the retina, and it will fall over the retina and spread over whole of the surface in all direction to the retina. But because of the presence of the pigmented layer, it is absorbed by that layer. Same function as we have the function of black screen behind the bowler, so that the image becomes very much clear, and because of the cross or opposite color, the image becomes very much clear, and the other harmful effects that are absorbed. In the same way, we have the melanin pigment here, which is giving us the safe side, and all the harmful light rays they are absorbed. Otherwise, it will create very intense feelings, and light is spread in all direction inside the eyeball, and can damage the retina also. You can see how much the beautiful girl with the deficiency of the melanin pigment. Not only the problem is inside the eye, but also you can check skin color and hair color also, all showing the deficiency of the melanin. And these patients cannot see in the bright light, as they have the intense light feelings, and it can damage their eye. So they can visualize clearly in darkness as compared to the sunlight. What is the pathophysiology of this abnormality? The key problem is with the macula and abnormal development of the nerves that connect the eye to the brain. We can have an idea about the macula, not clearly understood, but we can say that melanin is needed for organizing the macula when the eye is developing. It is also responsible for directing nerve impulses from retina to the image processing parts of the brain. One more thing, you can see the nervous pathway is very much different in these patients as compared to the normal. We have not studied the light in a visual pathway yet, but I can show you this thing, that these are the nervous layers forming the optic nerve from right side and from left side. For the neuronal fibers, we divide these fibers into two, from the nasal side, from the temporal side, because of the arrangement of the fibers and crossing normally here and at the level of the optic chiasma, they decussate in such a way that temporal fibers remains ipsilateral, while the nasal fibers they become contralateral of both sides. So this is the portion that is the optic nerve. After crossing at optic chiasma, they make the optic radiation here, and this is the lateral geniculate body. So reaching to that one, they have the ipsilateral temporal and contralateral nasal fibers. While in these patients you can see the crossing of both nasal and temporal to the other side. So the problem not only lies here at the level of the retina but also here at optic chiasma, and in next picture here you can see after the lateral geniculate body the normal fibers they are going in such a manner, but in these patients again they have the problem here that the arrangement is different as compared to the normal person. So at the visual cortex they have this abnormal arrangement also. All these factors combine and create the problem. So they have the problem over the retina, that is the deficiency of the melanin, then the fibers crossing here creating problem again. So the nervous problem is there, and again finally at the cortical level. Because of these problems, they have not only the difficult light perception but also other visual problems. As far as the blood supply of the retina is considered, the central retinal artery enters with the optic nerve within the same canal, optic canal. It traverses with the optic nerve and they come out from the optic disc to be spread over whole of the retina, just making as a fountain. I will show you the picture also. Branches to supply the entire retinal surface. Outermost layer is adherent to the choroid plexus, which is also a highly vascular area. Now I show you the picture. You can see this is the central, this is the optic disc, that is the head of the optic nerve, and through the optic canal the retinal artery traverses, reaches to the retina and spreading its branches to whole of the retina. So it is coming from the optic canal, and in this picture you can see very well that retinal artery with the retinal vein, both these they are emerging from the optic disc to supply whole of the retina. One more picture, this one showing the choroid plexus also. So in the center we have this area is whitish in color, and it is the optic nerve, that head of the optic nerve, optic disc, and you can see the central retinal artery and central retinal vein coming from the same canal, optic canal with the nerve, and this going to supply whole of the retina, and this is the choroid plexus. So just like a fountain, they are emerging from the optic disc and spread over the retina. So this is a brief introduction to the very important structure of the eye, that is retina, and it can be visualized very clearly, and many of the diseases can be diagnosed through the picture of the retina through the ophthalmoscopy. So you can visualize without any extra lab investigation, you can diagnose many diseases, hypertension, then retinal obesity or any hemorrhage or hypertension or any other disease, cupping of the optic disc in the glaucoma, many other diseases they can be diagnosed for with the help of the picture of the retina by visualizing the retina through the ophthalmoscopy. So this is a brief introduction to the retina. Okay, thank you and Allah Hafiz.